So I finally sat through and watched Disney's live action Snow White. It took me watching it in parts 2 or 3 times to get through it. I have to say, it was as bad as people have been saying. It was not a good film. Again, I try to go into these movies, especially for the first time, being optimistic. Maybe people are just, overly judging a project. No, it was actually that bad. Um, I don't even know where to begin. For one thing, it felt like 45 minutes too long. The extra filler was totally random. The plot line really, it just didn't flow. I do have to say that out of all things people are talking about with the issues with the film, biggest one for me isn't put on a certain actor or actress. It's all about the script. That is the poison apple of this film. The script writing is so bad. You could have, I don't know, one of the greatest, modern performers, like an Anthony Hopkins, could not deliver those lines. They were that bad. If you close your eyes and listen to what they're saying, I mean, it's just like a 5-year-old wrote the script. It was really bad. And I get, don't get me wrong, it is geared towards children, the film. But even for a child, I mean, the original had more depth than that. It just felt very watered down, which is strange because, again, it was extended length, but the extended time didn't add any depth to it. I think it just kind of, honestly, it just watered it down. Yeah, certain people are talking about, for example, Gal and her acting. Again, the script, not good. And she had to go off of that. As an actor, you're going off of the script that's been given to you. And you can only make that work with what's been given to you. So, and again, it's a kid's film. You don't want the evil queen to be terrifying to children, especially with a PG rating. You kind of want to lighten it up a little. I read somewhere that it was kind of like a poison ivy type villain, and I could see that. And, without picking on anyone in particular, Gal's singing it was not a good idea to give her a couple of songs. In my opinion, this is not, she's an okay singer, but that's not what she's known for. Obviously she's physically a gorgeous woman. She's quite a good actress. But the singing and the songs, that's another thing. The new added songs, they're just, I don't know, they just all sound the same. They don't have this beautiful melodic line. They just sound very generic. And so again, you're trying to deliver a song like that, and there's no depth to it. Now, Rachel, on the other hand, even though she wasn't the most obvious choice, she is, without a doubt, a professional singer, and by far the best singer of the film. It really showcased her voice well. The Jonathan character, which just, it was strange. It just wasn't the same without Prince Charming. Like, we'll just have this Robin Hood character, and it's like they were trying to make another Flynn Rider, right? But it just it didn't work. He wasn't charming enough. There was no, I don't know, like redemption for being a thief. It was just kind of like, this is what I have to do to survive. And so we don't starve. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're a young man. You can go out in the forest and hunt food for people instead of stealing the queen's potatoes, which was another awkward, random scene where just like a bunch of potatoes fall from his shirt. And then they're like, they throw him in the dungeon, like, may he see no light. And it's almost like bad that he got in trouble for stealing, but it's like no one should steal. It's not a good thing. And she didn't even threaten to, do any major harm to him. So it wasn't even that serious of a punishment. The CGI dwarfs, I could never adapt to it. Nothing about that was natural looking. And I also thought it was strange that they suddenly had magical powers. Like they just threw up their little hand and all of a sudden the rocks were glowing to like show them where the diamonds were. Like, what? And then it's another thing they do a lot of times with these live action remakes, I've noticed. They'll make like this deep symbolism over stuff that really isn't that deep. Like when they originally made it, I think it was just part of the story and it was kind of like there. Like, for instance, with the apple pie, at the beginning, little Snow White with her, father and the royal family, like they're delivering pies to the peasants. So it has like a deeper meaning with her making pies. And then eventually, of course, biting a poison apple. Probably one of the most funny moments to me. It was like one of the main, finale songs, and she's, strutting through the streets with the town folk, and she starts singing this, ballad, but they're all like chanting O's, just like endless O's building up to her singing. They just start following her. She's in like the red cape, Like, what is this Little Red Riding? What? And when she confronts the queen and they almost attack her, but then she gives a speech, like a very political speech, and everything's good then. It's like, okay. So all you have to do is give a political speech about like, you, Matthew, I know about your family, and she's pretty much just talked to him to death. The diversity. I'm no prejudice here, but 14th century Germany does not look like modern America. It just doesn't. And that's just historical facts. It's no prejudice. It just doesn't work. Just like in Mulan, how you'd want to see Chinese people. And there's nothing wrong with it. It would be weird to have white people there. It's one thing to make Snow White diverse, which is like the last princess I would think that they would make diverse for obvious reasons being in the name. But then half the people or more are diverse. But the real question is why? Why these endless remakes? I mean, why? I have no words at this point. It's been over 30 years since Disney has been doing the live action remakes. And I hope that they don't last another 30 years. I hope they get back to original content, which is what we all want, even though we may not admit it. And we'll keep, being curious about these remakes. But in the end, we're disappointed because rarely are they actually good. Can't beat the original. It's true. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on the live action Snow White films.